Welcome, Cancer. It's your Venus in Aries deep dive forecast from March the 6th through to March the 30th. Venus, the planet of relating but also of money, makes her way through the passionate sign of Aries. For you, that's the 10th house, which is very visible. That's going to give you an opportunity to make quite the impression professionally, but it's also going to ask some questions about your relationships in terms of how committed you or the other person may be. I'm astrologer Patrick Arundel. I'm going to share with you your event chart at the start of the process, which gives us a wider context, and then unpack all the upcoming influences. By the end of the forecast, you have a clear understanding of your finances and also your relationship prospects through to March the 30th. If you've yet to subscribe to the channel, please do so now to help it to continue to thrive. So on the screen is Venus, right on that 10th house cusp. In any natal chart, the planet which is most northerly is going to be the most influential. Venus rules two zodiac signs. Taurus is very much about earthy sensuality, can be our appreciation of our own value, but also it can be our personal values and also our approach to everyday finance. Whereas its rulership of the sign of Libra is very much to do with how we relate, about harmony, about getting that midpoint between give and take working well in all sorts of relationships. But the 10th house is where things are much more visible. And for most of us, it's to do with our work or our public presence. Now, if you're a creative or an artistic Cancer and your sole purpose is not quite being activated at the moment, the recent collective in the sign of Pisces, including Venus, has been helping you to think about the concept of change, or at least changing things up, bringing in more variety. Now, Mercury is still in a retrograde there, so it's important to plan things in a very precise way, particularly around sharing information. So if you're pitching for a job, Venus in Aries, the 10th house, very much about work, suggests your diplomacy and people skills are going to be important. But Venus in Aries can be quite impetuous. It can move quickly when sometimes a little bit of a slower pace, Taurus, or a more charming approach, Libra, can be helpful. Just be conscious of that. However, initially Venus connects to the mesmeric energies of Neptune. If you are a creative and you do want to reach more people, that can be very helpful to raise your profile and animate the talents you have. But equally, because Venus by the 8th of March reaches Saturn, if you're not enjoying relationships of any kind, but it could be professional ones, those are going to be magnified much more strongly. In fact, you could feel quite rebellious if something's not working very well, because Mars, the ruler of Aries, has moved into a part of your chart which is to do with freedom and breaking away from things that did feel oppressive when we had this stellium of energy in the deep 8th house for you personally. So that's going to be a little bit of a crunch point. But equally, if you're very committed to a business or committed to a relationship, the 10th house can be where we formalize something. So if you have applied for a job, you get it, there could be a green light, which is very pleasing. But do make sure the terms and the finance, the money that you're going to be paid, does meet your expectations. But if you are enjoying a relationship, but it is a developing one, it could be the time that you and your partner get the keys to your first property, or maybe even put that date in your diary for when you want to get spliced. Don't see Venus applying to Saturn as exclusively a bad influence. It's certainly a very serious one. But if you're not really enjoying a relationship or a job, for sure it can make you think very much about escape. But then Venus moves forwards and applies in a sextile to Pluto. Pluto continues in that very powerful 8th house. Can be important about shared resources, but it's also to do with your deep evolution. And if you're not feeling that the work you do, or even the respect that you're gaining from all sorts of connections, is really meriting your time and energy, it could see you wanting to evolve away from anything that's felt clingy or controlling. However, later in March, as Venus applies to Chiron, if you haven't had as much confidence about your professional situation as you would like over the last few years, I feel that Venus applying to Chiron can help you to talk to someone, get some great insights, maybe for yourself, understand your situation in a different and more healing way. To summarize, as far as relationships are concerned, they can get more serious, but if they're not working, you do need to confront that. The relationships can be professional or they can be personal. When it comes to your financial situation, things can be very positive as Venus forges in week 2 that dynamic link to Pluto, but only in a situation where you feel really seen, heard, and respected, and you're rewarded in a way which is worth your value. Jupiter, exalted in your sign, which has been retrograde, forges a square with Venus in week 3. If you're applying for jobs during that time, or you're wanting to do something with your finances which is more speculative, it may just come off you supremely well. To understand what the rest of March holds for you, Cancer, please click on the screen. To understand what Mars's recent arrival into Pisces means for you, click on that screen. To talk to me one-to-one, please check out my testimonials below. To take advantage of my unique chart of us, you can get 50% off Natal by applying Astro 26 at the checkout and 50% off Draconic by applying Draco 26 at the checkout.